Good morning, everyone. My name is Katie Resendez, and I'm the Director of Children's Ministry here at UUC Phoenix. I want to invite anyone who wants to come up and sit closer for a little bit, too. Feel free to, and while y'all do that, I'm going to invite Bob up for a second. Also, just want everyone to be aware that if you move up here to sit for a little bit, you can stay up here. You don't have to go back and sit somewhere else. It's okay to sit up here. Maybe not right on the steps because it's easy to trip on you, but. Bob, you wanted to tell us something.
Hi, friends. I'm Bob. I run kids camp. Usually, I'm fancy today, and by 5 o'clock I'll be sweaty, stinky like I always am, and covered in mud. And speaking to that, we are moving camp. Tomorrow is camp, and I know that doesn't strike panic in you like it does in me, but it strikes severe panic. And one of the things we usually do is we move all of our camp stuff from upstairs down and into the facilities. And we've got all of our kids camp staff, which are teens and stuff, coming to move the stuff down at 1:30 today, and they're going to be here from 1:30 to 2:30, and I'm going to stop paying them at 3:30, and I'm going to tell them to go home, but they're going to do their best to get it done. That being said, I want to tell you something about Unitarians, as I've been one for a long time. We have a tendency as older folk to turn to them when we need something done and say, hey, can you move this table for me? And they always say yes. And as Katie's talked to us a little bit, that's kind of rude, right? But they always say yes, and we've learned as a team to not ask things, think before we ask people just because they're smaller than us that they can do things for us. So knowing that we've worked on that, can we take one step further? If you're hanging around at 1:30, can they turn to you and be like, hey, can you help me move this thing? If you want to hang out and meet the kids camp staff who has built and run this entire thing, I don't do anything except for take legal liability for the situation, and they've done everything, and you want to help them move and find out, what is this giant ball? And they're like, oh, that's a gaga ball. It's really cool. If you can hang out until 3:30 with us today and help us move, I'll probably buy a pizza or something, I don't know. We'll make it worth your time. Stick around. Anyone and everyone's welcome. It'll be a cool time to just kind of hang out after church, so thank you.
Yeah, if you had fun at workday or you are sad that you missed workday, today's your chance, right? Okay. Oh, also on that note, there is a huge stack of books that some of our kids camp kids made this week in Office 2. Please do not touch them or resort them. They were covered by a yellow piece of cloth. If you know where that yellow piece of cloth went and can replace it, that would be great. Things move on this campus all the time, but it would be fantastic. It took a long time, and they're kind of precarious, so be careful. It's our own temple of doom. Let's see if I have anything else. I think that's it. Okay, so today I want to talk to you about body modification. Body modification is any time we take our bodies and change something about it, usually in a permanent way. So that might be piercing ears, but it could also be cutting or dyeing hair. It can be having your nails done, or it can be something that Bob reminded me of, tattoos. My favorite UU-specific tattoos, did you know there's tons of UU-specific tattoos? Some of you all have them. Someone has the Phoenix chalice tattooed on them, and it's not who you think it is. I have a chalice tattoo. It's a pretty cool UU tattoo, but my favorite UU tattoo is a youth tattoo, and it is something that very clearly says, I am Unitarian Universalist, and I am a youth. I grew up in a congregation. Do you know what it's a tattoo of? A stack of chairs. And there's a group of youth who are now in their mid to late 20s who all have a stack of chairs tattooed right here or right here. So body modification, when you change your body, right? So today's sermon title has a word in it that is about body modification, is a type of body modification. It's circumcision. And circumcision is something that has this huge generational divide. It's something that used to be practiced in the US really, really commonly, all the time. And within just a span of about 8 years, with some medical changes and insurance regulation changes, it stopped being practiced across the board. People still do it, but it's not the assumed thing. So we're going to talk about what the heck is circumcision, because I think most of the people whose bodies made them want to stay in chairs today know what it is, and most of the people whose bodies made them want to come up here might not. Okay, so we're going to start with this. Babies are born, and they have bodies. Bodies have different body parts. And that's everything from different earlobes, different types of tongues, all sorts of things, to different genitalia. And we usually think about genitalia as vulva or penis. There's lots of other things that go in there and all sorts of stuff. Those are the categories we tend to think in because as folks who grew up in the US, we like to think in binaries. It's not great for our brains, but we do it. So we're going to focus on penises for a second. With penises, there is a little piece of skin that's free from the rest of the penis called the foreskin. So what's a circumcision? Circumcision is a surgical procedure to remove the foreskin. It's cut off. It's a piece of skin getting cut off. Okay. In general, body modification is scary because it's changing your body. But when we talk about cutting something off permanently, that's a really intense thing, right? So when we talk about circumcision, people's feelings about it are really intense. And there's lots of reasons one might do it. A lot about spiritual beliefs, cultural practices, gender affirmation things, all sorts of stuff. But what I want you to know is the difference that made the generational split is a medical decision. Because we used to believe that it was healthier, cleaner, safer to perform this procedure on people. And then we figured out not so much. And science said, wait, maybe we should stop chopping people's body parts off because it was done mostly on babies. So now it is more frequent that people have circumcisions when they're older and are able to choose to do it. And that being said, some people still have it done as babies for all sorts of reasons. But it is a body modification thing that has changed. Now can we go back to tattoos for a second? Okay. Okay, then we'll stay on penises. Where are my owl teachers? So, when I was a kid, if you got a tattoo that was visible, people would say, how are you ever going to get a job? You're never going to be able to do respectable work. You'll never be able to work at a bank. And I know the generation before me, it wasn't just about a visible tattoo, it was any tattoo at all. Now in my generation, my banker, down at Desert Schools down there, is covered in tattoos. He has full sleeves and he has a tattoo on his neck here. Do I think he's less of a banker? Oh. Oh yeah, you're right. So my community-based financial expert is covered in tattoos. Do I think he knows how to count any less than someone else? No. So it's the same with all body modifications. We figure out what people choose to do on their own and how they choose to do it, and we decide what that means for us, right? I was also very much taught that if you had tattoos, you could not work in a church. I was also taught that if you were gay, you couldn't work in a church. So what I want us to remember is that ideas change, science changes, medical science changes, and society changes. And we have to be sure that when we support one another, we don't hold them to the beliefs of right now for decisions that were made back then that they can't change. And that we love and respect and honor everyone's ability to grow and learn. Because we like being able to grow and learn. And there's some pretty cool stuff that maybe makes our topic today, our headline today, less true about growing and learning. But you can ask me about that later. That's all. And I think that's it. You're welcome to stay up.